want to play fantasy basketball, I'm totally in. I will say that I'm gonna have at least one team that I make that's just guys I like. So I'll probably just draft like Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, Jimmy Butler, pretty much the old Bulls, Taj Gibson. I mean, I'm gonna get them all. I might get Dougie McBuckets just because I really miss him.
I think Wendell Carter.
Yeah, I mean, he's too new.
I've heard a lot
I
of
need
things
old
about him
guys.
this off season.
I'm definitely drafting ISO Joe on a team. You ain't gonna see me without Joe Johnson on my team. I watched that guy. He balled it up.
Greatest in Big Three history.
Greatest Big Three history of all time. So I want to hit you with another question before we go further into basketball, and I want to let the guests know that for this first episode we are going just me and you. We're going guestless. We might talk more about where we come from or what we do, just so you kind of have an idea about us if you're a first time listener. All of you should be first time listeners, but if you've never met us in real life, first time listeners of us talk. A lot of people listen to me talk. Outside this podcast. It's crazy. So, but one thing I want to hit you with on the business level is that's one of the things we like to talk about is what do you think about the Wework IPO?
I wasn't following the Wework IPO. Hit me with it.
Are you familiar with Wework?
A little bit, yeah. So they're the co-working network.
Yeah, like they have our idea. I mean, we've talked about one of the things that everybody in this room, Miku Club, Baristie Boys, we've talked about collaborating to build a coffee shop that would be essentially a WeWork space that Miku Club could anchor on the business and
the concept's
technology
popping
side.
Up a lot.
And it
WeWork's the only big franchise player.
It is. And WeWork's so big that they're in the city and we're in the sticks out here in Central Illinois. So we can kind of play. And there is other people who are doing, workspaces, but just like there's other people doing coffee, there's not very many people executing. Like we can have a great coffee shop, knowing that we have some of the best drinks, in my opinion, the best drinks, and that we're going to be making this great product and we're going to do it right. Because I feel like sometimes when you're in the Midwest, in rural America kind of feeling, there's not really a strive for excellence. There's a strive for maybe good service or relationships. But they don't strive for excellence. So to me, a lot of the spaces that we have that are like a open work concept, they're not done well. Where WeWork looks like if Onyx had a workspace that people go to. It's pretty much like a third wave coffee shop that's huge. It's beautiful. It's well decorated. It's executed, and it has tons of services. And then you can go to them in different cities.
Can you do that? Can you do a WeWork membership? And
I believe so.
Work if you travel, because I think that's a huge benefit to WeWork.
And I know my wife's worked at the one in Chicago before. One of the ones in Chicago. I think they have more than one location, but her company, the company she works with, does a lot of work with WeWork. So they'll do meetings and things there. And to me, every time I see a picture of it, I'm like, man, that is so sick. I want that. And that's been one of the hustles. If I had the money to do, if I had this money to invest, that would be a way I'd want to go. So WeWork kind of came out with
they privatized offices too, so they got large enough spaces that you can run your whole business.
You can run your whole business out of it, so you can have your own office, kind of like Innovate here in town. And then they also have the open concept. And there is a little bit of a worry to me that the open concept won't work long term, because here we are, we're in a home studio. We're in a place where we don't need to go
it's
to
only
to
good
WeWork.
for that start off if you're a singular or a team player, but you get
it's great
any
networking
momentum
too.
going, and you need more capacity.
Well, they've delayed their IPO, and it seemed like there's a little bit of a they don't agree between the CEO and the rest of the board.
Yeah.
But the board really wants to they want to push this IPO right away. Which to me, in the way the media is putting it, it looks like the CEO is kind of being dumb, and that the board really needs to push this IPO. But it also looks to me like they just want the cash. Yeah. And to me, when I see someone pushing an IPO, I think, oh, somebody needs the cash pretty bad right now. That they want to go public to get a huge cash grab. Because when you go public, for everybody that owns a company, it's a big grab. And obviously, with these kind of companies, you have these VC investors who are spending a ton of money, and they want their returns, Yeah. But at the same time, I saw an article saying that the founder of Snapchat is Evan Spiegel. He had said that his advice is don't go public. You know, like unless you have to, don't do that. Like, why would you do that? And you look at like some of the biggest private companies, and you look at companies like you know, like Buffett who won't split his stock. Like there's like sort of a road that everyone says you should go down, and then I feel like a lot of great companies never went down that road and are actually more successful not doing it.
It's crazy. I've been really noticing this trend, picking up on that lately, where you know there's so many of these up and coming companies. You know, you get over that first major mountain as a big startup, and then you want to go public because you need the cash so that you can continue to expand. And I get that. And you don't want to sell out other equity to like a singular investor or anything like that. Going public leaves you the options to buy back later. But you see these huge established companies, and I'm thinking Microsoft, an example, they just announced the other day they're spending like $40 billion on buyback coming up. And so you see these companies regaining their equity that they sold out because they don't need other people to control it anymore. They want to bring it back.
Yeah, Apple's bought tons of their own equity back.
Yep, and that's what everybody's doing with their stockpiles of cash. So I saw Microsoft doing $40 billion, increasing their dividend, which will be pretty nice for those investors. And so it's crazy. It's kind of like this cycle. Like when you're a young company, you know, you need that cash obviously for either inventory, product, expansion, whatever.
Or the fact that
WeWork's expensive. You know, you got to lease out or buy buildings, so you need that.
And
cash,
they've never turned a profit.
Yeah.
In the news makes that look a certain way, but we also know that Amazon didn't turn a profit forever.
Yeah, the last
and
20
Netflix
years
didn't
we've
turn
seen
a profit
that,
forever.
We've seen that companies, especially when they're tech or they're focused on the market and not a product, they don't need a profit.
Yeah.
For
but
20 years.
Obviously, if you're ready to make an IPO, you want the profit because you've been working hard and you want this thing. Yeah. To me, on paper, the things that I was upset about was they were upset with the CEO saying that he had smoked some weed on a plane trip to Israel like a year ago. And I thought, how does that have anything to do with whether he's capable of running the company? Like, how many movies need to come out about Wall Street guys who are snorting coke and are still running successful hedge funds before? Maybe you don't think the CEO smoking weed is really the problem with the company. You know, maybe the problem with the company could be something else, like tangible. But to me, the problem with WeWork is that it just doesn't seem like a chain that has great potential for great profit. I feel like it seems like a chain that a company, like a really strong office company would buy, like somebody like Salesforce or somebody that is already in the game, could sell this software, sell this other thing, and could use these spaces to have a great image for their products, you know, without necessarily making it non-neutral ground, you know?
It's hard for me to be too into a company like this, and I think that WeWork is great, and I think that
I want my own WeWork
is great. But that's the thing, is like it's easily replicable. Whereas, so I liken it to like a Starbucks. You know, Starbucks is great. They have their franchise, they're noticeable, they're branded, everything. But as good as Starbucks is, if you put a dope coffee shop in a city, people are gonna want to go to that dope coffee shop. They may even split their time, but regardless, like that's cutting away from that Starbucks business. And that's the same thing that I'm seeing with WeWork. You know, in Springfield we have 2 co-working spaces right across from each other, like literally across the corner from one another.
And both have major drawbacks, and neither of them are a WeWork for sure.
Yeah, neither of them are WeWork. But what I'm
because if they were, I would maybe want to go work at them. Not that I hate those places.
You can make it work with it's replicable, and if somebody wants to be the player on an individual level, they can, and that's just the drawback that I see with WeWork. And it's a cycle. It's a cycle service. So somebody starts off, you know, they come in, they buy the $50 a month desk spot or whatever, and then they build a little bigger. They need the private office, closed door, and then, you know, they need the conference room. And then eventually beyond that, they need their own space. So then they're leaving you. And so you're hoping that the next person comes in and wants to be an entrepreneur and follow that same path of success and move up.
But the reason that I think it's good is because the officeless employees, like Elijah might go to New York, he might go to San Francisco, which he will do all in the same month period.
Yeah.
And if he's a WeWork member, he can meet with clients at either place.
I think that's a huge benefit.
And I do think that that's like jobs are trending that way, especially for independent millennial workers and younger. It's like they don't really have a home base, but they're moving a lot and they want to be able to move a lot and have that freedom. Yeah. I also feel like the plus with WeWork is that they have the name. Like you think about U-Haul, like I always think, how did U-Haul get to where they're at, where they got these storage buildings? I mean, nice property sometimes in the city.
Yeah,
with these great storage buildings. From Busch Stadium. Right across from Busch Stadium.
Every time
you got trucks. And what's easier to build than storage sheds and renting out trucks? Like that's pretty much an old concept. But U-Haul has the brand power of like you could start the same company in town, but you'll never make the sales U-Hauls make it because everybody's heard of U-Haul and that's the first place they go. I do feel like WeWork has that. I feel like there's in the city especially. I feel like people go, "Hey, is there a WeWork here?" Like the term of like a co-working space is just termed to WeWork on some levels. No, and that's like pretty strong brand power.
We talked about this a little bit with Tesla. Like, do we think that people are just going to call all electric cars, 5 years a Tesla?
Because they're all Teslas. Yeah.
I saw a Nissan Leaf and somebody called it a Tesla the other day. And it's like, you know that you're a successful brand when, hey, pass me a Band-Aid. Pass me a Kleenex. Yeah. Like, let's go rent a U-Haul.
Well, whenever I go to like a nice restaurant, I always go, I'll take a McDouble with fries. And they go, oh, yeah, sure. That's never even a question.
I mean, it's like at the coffee shop, somebody comes in and orders a caramel macchiato.
Caramel macchiato. And
we're
it's not even a thing.
Shut up. Like, we're not going to make you that. We're going to make you what we want, but we know what you're asking
We're going to tell you you're getting that, and then we're going to make you something better. And please don't call it this again. Thanks for listening to this bonus clip of the Am I a Baller podcast. The first full episode will drop October 21st, one day before the NBA season starts. So get ready. Since recording this, WeWork postponed their IPO, Zion brought an IPO of his own against the Atlanta Hawks, Shaq and Dame got into a rap battle, and the NBA is going up in flames in China. I don't know what to think about all that. But I do know that in the streets of Lincoln, they still want me to die, and that Eastside DZA teaches us all how to survive. Am I a Baller is a production of the Baristie Boys. Big thanks to Elijah Settles and Miko Club for production, and a special thank you to Zach Ayyyyeee for being such a great guest, even though we weren't able to air any of his content on this episode because we ran out of time. Again, thanks for listening to the Am I a Baller podcast, where we talk about business and basketballs.